So hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our interview series organized by the Central and Eastern Europe Research Group at Maastricht University. So I am Tamar Mnatobishvili, and today we have the honor of speaking with Brigitte le Normand, a historian specializing in the history of socialist Yugoslavia. She is the author of Designing Tito's Capital, Urban Planning, Modernism, and Socialism in Belgrade and Citizens Without Borders, Yugoslavia and its migrant workers in Western Europe. Brigitte earned a PhD at UCLA, and her teaching interests include urban history, state socialism, and the migration. So thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure.
And to start with, could you share what sparked your interest in the history of Yugoslavia and how your various research projects are interconnected to each other?
I became interested in Yugoslavia when I was finishing my bachelor's degree, and it's because I went to see a play about the war in Bosnia, and it dealt with rape as a weapon of war. And what was really interesting about it was this interplay between a rape victim and her American psychologist. And at some point in the play, you realize that they are both actually at a psychiatric institution. And so it goes from being about people in the West helping people in the Balkans and being about how everyone was traumatized by this war in Bosnia. And it was really, it really kind of shook me and made me feel like there was a lot to learn about this place and that it could make a difference to learn about this place. In terms of the various research projects I do, the connection between them is that I'm interested in socialism in Yugoslavia as a kind of a modernization project. And I'm interested in how this modernization project gets implemented, but then also what kinds of impacts it has and how those impacts in turn bring about a transformation of a vision of what modernity meant in Yugoslavia. And so I look at this through the prism of urban planning. I look at it by focusing on labor migration. And now I'm focusing on maritime shipping as well. And I think the interesting thing in all three cases is the way in which Yugoslavia's modernization project was really about engaging with the rest of the world.
So I wonder, what aspects of archival research do you find most rewarding, and how does your work with digital maps enhance our understanding of historical narratives?
What I love about working in the archive is you never know what you're going to find. So you walk into a dusty room and you order some documents by looking through a catalog, and 8 times out of 10, there's actually nothing of interest in the box. And then the remaining 2 times out of 10, you find really interesting things that change the way you think about something. And every once in a while, after looking for something for months and months, and often unexpectedly, you discover something you've been looking for and that you had given up on. And it's really exciting. It's like being a detective, really. That's what I love about archival research. In terms of my work with digital maps, how it enhances our understanding of historical narratives, I'm really interested in thinking about how moving through space can help it change the way we think about the past. We learn from reading books, we learn certain narratives, and sometimes those narratives become really kind of fixed and unchanging. And I think what's interesting about, for example, using a mobile phone app and learning about a city as you move through it is you discover that there are many different stories that can be told about the same city. And so it helps us to think about the past in ways that are more complex and that are also more inclusive of different voices.
And this brings us to the last question. What do you think, why it is important to understand the history of Yugoslavia, and what lessons can contemporary society learn from the Yugoslav project?
I think it's interesting to look at the history of Yugoslavia because at the end of the day, it doesn't exist anymore. And so it doesn't really occur to people as a place to learn about and to care about. And there's also a certain idea of Yugoslavia as a failure, an experiment that didn't work out, that was flawed from the beginning. But if we actually go back and look at what happened, we realize that it's a story that could have played out in many different ways. In fact, what you can also learn is that there are many lessons for us in how Yugoslavia tried to tackle different things. For example, how it tried to go from being a marginal state to advancing its position in the global order, and the clever kinds of strategies that it used to do this. Also, the way in which Yugoslavia tried to overcome ethnic frictions and tried to create a society that cared about the different members of society and tried to provide for them. Not everything worked out, but I think nowadays we assume that there's only one way of doing things. And I think it's really important to look back and learn that there were other ways that were also interesting and productive.
Thank you for sharing your insights with us today and your extensive research and expertise on the history of socialist Yugoslavia provide valuable perspectives on the complexities of urban planning, migration that you already mentioned before, and the identity in this unique historical context. And we appreciate your contributions to the field. And thank you to our audience for joining us today. And goodbye for now.